We'll take you now to the latest Cowboys rumors, and quite a few good ones to get into today here for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll start off if Randy Gregory will be a starter this year. I'm only going to give this one just the 2 stars for right now, and there's some truth to it, but also not a complete amount of truth there as well. So 2 stars, and this one for Gregory comes to us from 24/7 Sports. In terms of snap count, I think by the end of the year, you'll see Gregory getting starter snaps, and I'll put starter in quotation there. So because Gregory brings you so much in the passing game, you kind of want him on the field on third downs, right? And that makes a ton of sense. He'll play a lot of right defensive end on third downs. Maybe you'll see Tyrone Crawford kick on the inside to DT as well. So I don't think you're going to see Gregory get the start because he's not good enough, at least in my eyes, against the run as of right now. But when you go to the depth charts, one on in terms of the nickel defense as well here, you could see this as like kind of their four down lineman nickel defense. DeMarcus Lawrence, Malik Collins, Tyrone Crawford, and Randy Gregory. That's kind of your early season defensive depth chart. Of course, David Irving not listed because he is suspended. But in terms of pass rush ability, that's a really good combo. And as for those of you who want Crawford there, well, there you go. Now you'll play some DT on passing downs, even though I think he'll remain at defensive end on first and second downs where he does provide some good run defense. So, folks, let me know how many sacks you think Randy Gregory will have this year. I'll keep the over-under at 4.5, although he's looked really good in camp so far when he's been able to practice. Give me a O for over 4.5 and a U for under 4.5. Speaking of defensive ends, how's Dorance Armstrong looks? Has he wowed? I'm giving this one 4 stars. Will McClay said it as well, and I completely agree based on what we've seen so far from Dorance Armstrong. He has looked really, really good, and he looks more like, and this is a big difference, 2016 Dorance Armstrong versus the 2017 version. Now, the Cowboys have kind of blamed the scheme change Candace went through as the reason why the 2017 Armstrong was not as effective. If that's the case, I think the Cowboys ended up with a steal. Now, I didn't love the Dorance Armstrong pick at the time, but getting in Armstrong from the 2016 version, I thought he could have been a first-round pick. So we'll get the video here pulled up in a second as well of Dorance Armstrong making some great plays against Tyron Smith of all people as well. So here it is, the video here of Dorance Armstrong beating Tyron Smith in a one-on-one rep there. We'll play it for you a second time here as well. And that's a good sign. Now, Smith did win the battle. He won 2 out of the 3, but Armstrong still won 1 of them. So that's a big factor for me there for Dorance Armstrong. I think he is well on his way to carving out a rotational role for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, next up, folks, on our Cowboys rumors roundup, number 3 is David Irving's return like Randy Gregory's. Well, that's the hope, so I'll give this one 2 stars too. I don't know if it's actually going to go down that way, but David Irving's camp told Mike Fisher that the rehab is not focused on a drug problem, more on the mental and the emotional side of things, just like Randy Gregory was. The drugs are not the main problem. Think of it more as a symptom. All right, David Irving has a tough time adjusting to things, and we've seen it. He's had a very rough offseason overall, and I don't really blame him for that at all because he's gone through a suspension, he's gone through a custody battle, a false domestic violence accusation. He's been through a lot, so it's understandable that he can struggle with that at times, and that's the focal point of the rehab here, to get his mind right that allows him to not turn to drugs or alcohol. So that's the hope there with David Irving. It's still tough for me to trust him long term. I think the likely outcome here is that the Cowboys say bye-bye to Irving after this year. But we did just see Randy Gregory come back when, frankly, I did not think he was going to. So hopefully that is the case there for Irving, and it ends up being a very similar story to one Randy Gregory. All right, next up, could the Cowboys trade for Teddy Bridgewater? I don't like this one at all. We're going to give it fake news. Fanside suggested it as an idea. It makes 1 iota of sense if Dak Prescott gets hurt. That's the only way it makes any sense because the Cowboys are not going to trade a relatively premium draft pick. It's probably going to be at least a 4th, if not higher, for a backup quarterback. I'm not the world's biggest Cooper Rush guy, but if you're telling me if I can take Cooper Rush for the minimum salary or get Teddy Bridgewater in for a 4th-round pick, I'll just roll with Rush and then figure out if Dak goes down. I don't think it makes sense for the Cowboys to trade for Bridgewater. It would not make sense if Prescott is healthy. And as of right now, that's where we're at. Doesn't make sense to go trade for a backup quarterback right now. Speaking of trades, how about a Khalil Mack one? And I'm also going to go ahead and give this one the fake news. Now, the Vegas odds have the Cowboys tied for 5th, plus 1,100 in the odds to land Khalil Mack. And I don't think it actually makes that much sense. It would be great. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, I'll take either of them. But the Cowboys can't pay both Khalil Mack and DeMarcus Lawrence. So if you're going to trade for him, I got 2 options that kind of make sense, but I think the Raiders keep Mack anyway. First up, Taco Charlton, a first and a second. I think you guys would like that one more than the next one coming up because you get DeMarcus Lawrence and Khalil Mack. Oh my God. The issue is, long term, you can't pay Tank, let's just say 18, 19 million, and Khalil Mack, let's say 22, 23, 24 million. You can't invest $40 million a year in 2 defensive ends. It's just not enough money. So the more likely trade is you ship off Lawrence and you send a second-round pick. Of course, the Cowboys prefer to keep that second for maybe an Earl Thomas. And in the end, is Tank in a second enough for Khalil Mack? I don't think it is. So don't anticipate a Khalil Mack trade to the Cowboys. Maybe there's a 0.5% chance it goes down, but it's far more likely that A, the Raiders just keep and extend Mack, or B, they trade him to someone who has a better draft pick and better players and more money available to pay him. So that one doesn't make a ton of sense for me. All right, next up, will this be a breakout year for Jaylon Smith? Well, I certainly hope so here. 3 stars on this one, and Will McClay seems to be of the same mindset. He offered a lot of praise for the way that Jaylon Smith has played and his health, most importantly. Smith looks faster and quicker than he did last year, as I've said before. And he might be Notre Dame Jaylon Smith again. And frankly, maybe if he might be a little bit better, because Jaylon Smith right now, folks, looks really good. He'll be a starter for the Cowboys at linebacker. I'm very excited to see how he fares this year. I love what Jaylon Smith brings to the roster. If he can be Notre Dame Jaylon Smith, look out. This Cowboys team is in absolutely fantastic shape. So 3 stars there on that one, folks. We'll come back with more rumors, but first, a quick word from Mizzen and Main. Oh, that commercial never ceases to put a smile on my face. All right, keep it rolling now with some more Cowboys rumors. Number 7, will there be a Cole Beasley extension? I'm not quite as confident, at least as of right now before camp, for example. So Nick Eatman of Cowboys.com says, hey, it could come in camp. It could come before DeMarcus Lawrence next year. It could be the first guy to get done. Mike Fisher says that idea isn't going to get much traction. Eatman kind of said it could be a short-term deal. So it makes sense for the Cowboys trying to get Cole locked up short for 2 or 3 years more for a very cheap price. Why would Cole do that, though? Beasley thinks he's going to have a breakout year. It makes way more sense for him to wait and see what he can get next year in what is a wildly expensive free agency market for receivers right now. So I don't think you'll see a Cole Beasley extension, but hey, it could still happen. All right, number 8 is Rico Gathers fighting for a roster spot. This one's 4 stars. Now, it's a notable thing because, yes, Rico is able to make some great plays. He's showing the flashes in camp that you love, but he also takes more than just the flashes of great plays. We'll show you one of those flashes. I'm sure you guys have seen it. A great one-handed grab by Rico Gathers, and it's great to see Rico do this. A beautiful catch. Tough to make for any tight end. Better than I think any tight end on the Cowboys roster can make right now. So I like to see that a lot overall for the Cowboys, for Rico Gathers. But Rico also understands that this is more than just being able to make flashes there. So we'll bring up some of his quotes. And if you don't believe me that Rico is still fighting for a roster spot, maybe you can believe Rico himself and ask about, hey, are the catches enough to get you on this roster? Rico says no. There's more to this than a game that can play like that. There's the everyday aspect, the blocking, the consistency. That's a big deal there for Rico Gathers, and he understands that's a good sign for me. He says, look, you can't make that catch one day and then stop making them for several weeks, and most importantly, coach doesn't like flash players. Rico is dead on there. I'm glad to see he gets that and understands it because that is what he has to be better at in order to actually make this Cowboys roster. Let me know if you guys think he'll make it. As of right now, I think the Cowboys only keep 3 tight ends, and if that's the case, Rico ends up being the odd man out for the Cowboys. Let me know if you think he does do it, because unfortunately, I don't think the Cowboys are in great shape overall. Anyway, we'll take it now. There it is. Type A for yes, B for no. If you think Rico will make the Cowboys roster, unfortunately, folks, I think it's going to be a B for a no. All right, one final rumor is the chemistry growing for the passing game. I'll give this one 3 stars, and it's only 3 because it's not there yet, but it is getting there for the Cowboys and the receivers. Remember, they took that little trip to Florida. I think that helped them out quite a bit as well. Prescott said he feels the chemistry is starting to show. It's getting better. The TD pass to Michael Gallup looked pretty good chemistry-wise there as well. But there is plenty of room to grow for this Cowboys receiving core. The passing attack struggled badly early in camp. The deep ball was a disaster. Looked better in week 1 of the preseason. Hopefully that continues to grow. But the Cowboys still need more time, and it might not be done by the time we actually get to the regular season, at least early enough in week 1 and 2.